Where'd those troublemaking pigs go? There's one. I can hear him. I can just see him over there. Hey guys, you come see me? I am not edible. These guys are really growing now, aren't you? Oh, sorry. Pretty soon they'll be at the point where they're not scared of me anymore. You guys just want to eat me. They continue to clear out their pasture here. It's getting sparse. It's moving day today, and one of those moves is taking Brownie's piglets out and putting them in the hut. But we got other things to do first. Soon after I get out of bed in the morning, I start thinking, well, what's for dinner? And today we're going to let it cook all day. This is pork belly off of our old sow Missy that we slaughtered last year, and it's good stuff. She was 5 years old, so it's a little tougher than a young pig, but we let her smoke all day and she'll make a delicious dinner. As you can see, it's still frozen, so we'll just put her on here, and then when she thaws, we'll put a rub on. Put the thermometer in there and come back and check her in an hour or so. The next job is to move some birds. I wonder if this tire is still on warranty. You may have noticed that we put the turkeys out yesterday, and there they are. Hey guys. I have a whole video from last year on turkeys, but in short, this is our turkey ark, and they go up on the bars to roost at night. They wander around and pip and pop and eat grass all day long, and we move them like we do the laying hens once a week. But unlike the laying hens, their fence is electrified for two reasons. One, they tend to lay against it if it's not, and we don't want that happening. And number two, they don't have a protected predator place to go at night. They just go up and roost, so the electric fence keeps the predators out at night. And we haven't lost a turkey to predators on pasture in at least 3 years. I love raising turkeys. No, they're not as stupid as all the old tales. Actually, I think turkeys are pretty smart. They have a sophisticated system of calls. They'll make this pip-pop sound when they go to new grass or when they're exploring, because that's their way of saying, hey, I found something new. And then they have a whole bunch of different calls, like when they go up in the ark at night, we'll hear them making a different call, and I think they're smart. I love raising them. The only issue we have with raising turkeys is come butcher time, because those suckers are heavy and they're just difficult to deal with. I'm standing in the middle of our bird pasture, broilers, turkeys, and laying hens, and it's about 4 acres or so. Broiler boxes over here, laying hens which move once a week, turkeys which move once a week. Birds are really hard on pasture. This is what the laying hens do. They'll dig these pits so that they can take dust baths to help control mites that get under their feathers. And what happens is when you have a bare spot like this, eventually you wind up with weeds, because in all of our other pastures the grass outcompetes the weeds and we have very few weed problems. But in this pasture we wind up with burdock, thistles, and I don't like that. When it comes to broilers, I don't think that the manure they put down when we move the boxes every day is as beneficial to the soil as some people say. And the issue is that the manure they're putting down is really hot in nitrogen, and it's not composted, so it's not readily in a form that the soil benefits. I'd much rather put down composted chicken manure with some carbon added in so that you get a proper composting mix. I haven't seen a lot of benefit from the chicken manure we lay down. In fact, I think that the lack of composted manure is hurting this pasture, and I'm going to be putting a heavy dose on next spring. This has always been our dedicated chicken pasture, and it would be ideal if we rotated to other fields, but the issue is walking and water. So water comes out from the hydrant in the barn over there, and we pull garden hoses around, which is very simple to water everybody, and we're out here multiple times a day to feed and water the birds, to collect eggs, to collect birds for butchering, to bring chicks out. So if we put them way down in another field, all that would become a lot more complicated. This is what keeps farming interesting. So I have a long test period on this field, and I've seen how it reacts, and now I'm going to start making adjustments next year in terms of composted manure, maybe how we run the chickens, and see how it affects the grass in the field. Anyhow, there's one moving job done. Oh, let's check on the pork belly. Ah, it's too bad we don't have smell-o-vision, huh? I think it's thawed enough to put a rub on it. The next moving job is the first step in a multi-part process with the cattle. Howdy, cows. You guys are taking a siesta, huh? Look at them packed in there.
Hey guys.
The calves treat this bale ring as their private clubhouse, but they gotta go. Come on, guys. Out you go. Come on. There you go. You too. Out you go. Alrighty. We have to move this bale ring. Come on. Come on. Which has been in here for a long time.
Yeah, I didn't mean that.
There we go. What the heck are they doing? Meh. You guys sure are good at complaining. Huh? We got them all stirred up. This is the first step in separating the herd for breeding. So we bring them into this heifer yard. That's why we move the bale ring, get them eating in here. Then we can close that gate, get them all in the heifer yard here and start to sort them. And they go into 3 groups. The first group is the animals, the heifers that are gonna go to butcher next year, and we'll keep them in this yard and they can go into the barn and eat. The second group is Orden the Bull's group, and they'll go in the winter pasture over there with Orden the Bull. The third group is Titus the Bull's breeding group, and they'll go out on pasture. And they'll stay in those 3 groups for about 6 weeks or 2 heat cycles. We'll watch them each come into heat, get bred one by one, and then we'll leave them together for a second heat cycle to make sure they're bred. And then the herd comes all back together, except for the heifers that are in the heifer yard. Sounds simple, right? Hello, pickers. The next thing is, you guessed it, to move these piglets out to pasture, but they're not all going out to pasture. We gotta move Mom out into another pen. Come on, Mom. Come on. You guys stay. There you go, right in. There's 7 piglets in here, and we're gonna move 4 of them out. Oh my gosh. Some FAQs about weaning piglets. 1. How old? For us, 6 to 8 weeks is weaning age. 2. Why do you pick them up by their hind legs? Well, that's really the only way to safely pick them up. If you grab them around the body, they're going to squirm so much they risk injury. Hind legs is the way that it's always done. 3. Why doesn't the mom go with them? Well, the mom needs to be rebred, and the boar is needed to rebreed her, so she needs to be dried off. She'll have her first heat within about a week of being weaned of her piglets, and we'll put the boar in with her in a couple days. 4. How do you transition them from mother's milk to feed? It's a gradual transition. We start putting feed on the floor for them when they're with mom at about a week and a half or 2 weeks old, and they start eating it then. And they gradually eat more and more as they grow. When we put them out into pasture, we start out feeding them slop, which is a thin mixture of water and grain. And that way they make the transition from milk completely to feed. 5. Will the bigger pigs bully the smaller pigs? I don't know the answer to that. Every batch is different. I do know that we always combine 2 batches, and they're usually about 3 weeks apart, and they do fine most of the time. Sometimes you'll get an aggressive larger batch, but in the end they figure out their own peace amongst one another. The key is to lay out more feed troughs so that the little ones have a chance to eat just like the big ones. 6. Why did you leave 3 piglets in the pen? Well, we only have 14 pigs scheduled at the butcher this December, so that's all we can bring. We put 1 extra one in the pasture for a total of 15. We're going to butcher that one ourselves and use it for our own meat. These last 3 piglets we're going to sell as feeder piglets for somebody else to grow out. And feeder piglets around here vary widely in price, but they go from between $50 and $100 depending on the season. 7. Is this traumatic on the mother? And yes, it is. We put up a piece of plywood here so she can't see her piglets directly, and she's upset. There's no real way around it when you do a separation. However, she will calm down fairly soon. By this evening, she'll be back to normal. Red's a climber, right, Red? And the best way to calm her down is really just to leave her and her piglets alone. Don't agitate them and let them kind of come to their new peace. Let's see how our dinner's coming. A little under 300 degrees. I really like to keep it at about 250, so we'll close it up a little bit. Looks pretty good to me. Coals burning around. Well, what I thought was 1 thick pork belly is actually 2, so we'll put some rub on the side that they were together. I thought that was awful thick. The next moving job is to move the round bales that I baled last week into the barn. Looks like those calves have made themselves right at home. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the grass. I usually bring in hay bales with a wagon, but I only had 10 in this field, and so it really wasn't worth messing around with hooking and unhooking a wagon. And Hillary had the time to man the gate for me to open and close it as I went back and forth through the cows' pasture that they were in. So I brought them out of the field one by one. Hillary opened and closed the gate, and I put them on the lawn just on the other side of the pasture. One of the nice things about doing round bales is you're not in a hurry on baling day to get the bales under cover. They can sit outside for a while and it won't hurt them at all because they shed water better. Boy, when we made square bales, we always had to hustle to get the wagons in. We were talking about 4, 5, 6 wagons that had to be unloaded the same day they were baled. This is a lot nicer. With round bales, I usually let them sit in the field for a couple days to a week, depending on how dry the hay was. And before I bring them into the barn, I put my hand in and make sure that the bales aren't heating up at all. That's one of the advantages to having an old baler that bales loose. You can actually put your hand in and feel a good way into the bale to see if it's molding at all. 225, excellent. I am going to wrap these up in foil and let them cook for about 3 hours that way. There's 2. I'm starting to get hungry for dinner. Once I had all the bales out of the field, then I picked them up one by one again and brought them up to the barn. Even though round bales can be stored outside, a certain percentage of the hay gets ruined by the weather. Say the outer 6 inches. Well, it turns out that outer 6 inches is a big percentage of the hay in the bale, so I prefer to bring my round bales in and stack them in the barn because I like to be thrifty with my hay. It's clear that I'm not going to have enough hay to get through the winter. In fact, enough hay to get through the winter would fill this barn pretty much the way I'm stacking it right now. Luckily, I have 100 bales coming from a custom baler, and he's going to be here probably in the next few weeks to deliver them. I believe it is time to unwrap the pork belly. Some things when I unwrap them I leave the foil on the bottom, but with pork belly I don't, because I like to get as much smoke in it as I can. I'll leave this on here for about an hour and a half till dinner time. Close the lid and let her get some more smoke in her. Yeah, dinner time. Oh. Ooh, looks falling a party. Chef's got a sample first, you know. Nice and tender. Pulls apart. These cook for a total of 9.5 hours. Well, I guess I'll take this in and share it with the family. We're gonna have pork belly sandwiches and sweet corn for dinner. We got a lot done today, and I hope you enjoyed coming along. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.